Hi guys, welcome to a video that contains the game of the round 7 or game 7 of the FIDE World Chess Championship match between Domaraju Gukesh and Dinliren. This is a recap. So let's go through this game actually. This game actually ended in a beautiful draw. It's a recap. So let's just take a look at the beauty of the game. Let's see what the game has to offer. It's just sharing ideas and my concept around the game and enjoy it. Gukesh plays the white pieces. He opened with pawn, no, knight to f3. Don't mind me, knight to f3 was the first move. You know, I'm too used to playing the pawn. Opening with the pawn. And during recording, I just do feel comfortable starting and saying pawn because most games are played with the pawn. Either you play with the e pawn or you play with uh the d pawn, except for some exceptional players like Magnus Carlsen that likes opening with pawn to c4, the English opening. When it comes to a regular, I think knight to f3 is one of the most played move at the top level, but knight to f3 is the third most played move based on this engine here. However, we saw it in the world champion. After e4, d4, knight to f3, and c4, you see other openings are just consideration like g3. Imagine. But e4 most popular, d4, knight to f3, and so on. So Gukesh employed this idea here and play. The leading decided to play a response d5. After this set of opening, we have the kings in their attack, double fianchetto because bishop is coming here. We have two bishops with the same motive, putting pressure on this longest diagonal and so on and so forth. So the game continued after pawn push, countering the center immediately by Gukesh. This is Gukesh's style of fighting for the center. Pawn takes, he pushes here, and this is a massive takeover of the center with the two pawns. Then he's going to recapture this soon. He's just going to take it. It's an idea. Well, and if he chooses to do this, maybe you send the knight to the pawn. Who knows? These are ideas anyway. Well, they are opening structures people employ. But someone for my level, maybe it's a recap. You just choose to stay simple and understand the game and not blunder. This round 7 continued after you see after this d4 move, we saw g6. Okay, where were we? After d4 move, we saw bishop to g7. Yeah, then c4 follows. This is where we are hoping for pawn takes and pawn occupy the center. However, Ding declined, having this structure that looks like the Karukan. You know the Karukan, how it works. C6 right away. So you just resemble the structure. Well, bishop to g2, then we have knight. After castles, the both parties castles. Gukesh decided to bring in the rook in this form, where rook goes to e1 and trying to strike in the center with pawn push. Then, like I said earlier, he may send the knight to the pawn if pawn takes. Who knows? Eventually, Dean captured there. He now launched e4, taking full control of the center. This is just typical ideas and understanding. This is chess. Just have fun with chess. And that is what's going on. At the top level, they play for fun and at the same time with an amount of seriousness that can enable them become grandmasters. So after bishop g4 is okay, it's logical. Pins the knight to the queen. Nothing much here. We see knight. Knight moves to d2, defending, supporting the rook in defending that pawn. At the same time, going after the pawn he gave out earlier on move 7. c5, countering the center. When you notice your opponent have an idea in the side of the board, you go for the center attack. In this case, what we saw was pawn push forward, giving room for the pawn to penetrate and take more space. Well, I hope this pawn doesn't become a problem in the future. Who knows? I don't like white having full control of center in my own games too. So countering this pawn was a style I would love to play. However, since it's a game for it's a game played by grandmasters. This is world championship match. So it's a world class match. The reason why Gukesh played this, we're going to see this in the future. He's just too aggressive, and at the same time, he wants to go for a win. He's not settling for a draw. So it's possible for pawn to take. Yeah, pawn takes. Knight will just come over here. Knight comes, prepares to take the pawn. No defender for that particular pawn. So he decided to keep the tension in the center and keep it close by playing pawn to d4. Sorry, d5, taking more space. Then later, he will take this pawn, then gang up to, explore the beauty this pawn can give. He's even trying to counter a pawn like this and damage pawn chain. Then one thing you should know again in chess is that you see these stacked up pawns is headache for black. Black needs to find a way to disconnect two of them. However, this one is ready to be captured, so black will just be worried about the pawn here on c5. The game continued after we see pawn push. Dinleren continued to pester in the center. He doesn't want Gukesh to have full control of the center. So hence he played e6. Hastily attacking the bishop. Bishop takes knight. Bishop takes the bishop. We have pawn takes on d5. After the pawn takes on d5. Now, to my own understanding, I was thinking this will happen, which is okay. You get. Is there anything here the engine can help us to say? Engine still just say take this. Now, uh, okay. I think why they did okay. Why is engine suggesting this move now? Just a way to disconnect the queen and the bishop. Great. What of going back? What of just staying here? Queen takes queen. Okay, the pawn is falling. There will be a takeover of pawn back. Good idea. So the variation where you see bishop blocks, bishop comes here to h6, attack the rook. Why not take the rook away? The knight to 4. So that pawn was not free. Grandmasters need to see things like that. Ha! That's why they are grandmasters. Imagine. Is that you leave the rook or you leave the knight? And that's not good for world championship. So eventually, you see, this pawn is in trouble. This pawn is not free. With the variation I've showed, you can learn one or two. So in the game, we can see knight move instead. Knight takes the pawn, pawn push, harassing the knight. Knight comes back to safety. However, a counter attack. What to do? Here, the Liren employed queen. Queen move. Queen to b6, defends the pawn. Support the knight to defend this pawn. Then create room to connect the two rooks. Rook should belong to d8 and e8 respectively. Well, let's say we have bishop. Mobilizing the bishop is very nice. Putting eye on this diagonal. For now, I like white position. Very active and free with the pieces. We have rook comes into the game through e8, queen, then we have rook to d8. The purpose of queen supporting bishop is to exchange and trade off this active dark square bishop, if possible, at the right time. These are ideas you employ when playing this kind of setup. When you see your opponent fianchetto's bishop, you have to understand that this this bishop, pardon me, I just woke up from sleep, so I need a lot of warm up to make sure that I'm not saying the wrong piece. In this position, we need to move this bishop so that, you know, after playing h6, bishop to h6, bishop takes, queen takes. This place have weakness on the dark squares. But for now, knight to c2 comes up, trying to remind over the knight. Probably put it here, hold this for a long time. Knight to f8, we have pawn push. trying to disconnect the two pawns. Ding declined by pushing the pawn forward to c4. Bishop attacks the queen. Queen goes to safety. Then we have bishop. Centralizing this bishop is nice. And this pawn truly is not still free. Yeah, let's look at this variation where rook takes, right? You cannot take this. This is why. In the long run, if bishop takes the bishop, right? King takes, see, you have losing a piece. Although you've gotten a pawn, but you are down 2 point materials. With this calculation, you see, there's some point where Dean Lireng will stay on the chessboard and think for a long time. I was scared for him at that point, but he still find a way to play well and keep the tension. I love how he plays. He's a very patient player. So rook takes on e1 check first. Rook takes, then we have queen takes the pawn on a2. Well, the queen has penetrated into the second rank, closer to white camp, and this is the last round, the last rank before you get here. Gukesh does not want this queen here. Yeah, the queen is disturbing Gukesh. That's why Gukesh choose to play a rook to a1, attacking the queen. Queen safety is to b3. Queen b3, we have rook attacks queen again. Queen check on b2, on b1 check. King goes safety, then is a rook move, just putting eye on the pawn. There is rook attacking the pawn, then we have this move, queen to b3, rook comes back, queen goes down, then this happens, he repeats the move. After queen to b3, Gukesh decides to take the pawn on b5. In this position, the engine is still favoring white. White has gotten some pawns to his name. Well, to count it, just look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We have equal numbers of pawns actually. So this happens going for queen exchange. After this move, Gukesh keeps the queen on f4. He doesn't want to exchange the queen yet. And this move is not just a smart move. It's a move we can say is a counter. It's a counter move. You know what? This ninth, the knight here on c2 was defended by the queen. When the queen was split to d3 for an exchange, Gukesh left the knight undefended, allowing queen to capture on c2. Why? Because he has seen that with this variation, he can simply take back material here. He has taken back a knight too in this position. So when we study Grandmaster's game, it is very crucial to know why a certain move was played. So when we employ such concepts in our own games, we can have reason to say, yes, I'm going to take back material or I'm going for something greater. Most times, this can just lead to checkmate. Giving a piece to attain checkmate is a favorable trade. So for that person who made checkmate. So in this case, we can see that bishop has taken a knight, queen has also taken knight on c2. What to do? It is black to play. Queen now comes to f5. With the queen on f5, there's a threat. You see, he's threatening to take this bishop with the support of the bishop here on g7. So Gukesh saw this and said, okay, if I allow the queen to take my queen, I'm going to have pawn structures I'm not going to like. Rather, let me make a bad pawn structure in black's camp by taking the queen instead. Here on f5. Pawn takes. Then you can see the structure for black. The pawn structures becomes something unclassifiable. I'm going to say it that way, which is pretty clear already. Yeah. So in this position, what to do? Bishop takes the bishop on g7, king takes. Rook, okay, we were here. That was a misclick. After the king takes that bishop, yeah, this point, right? Uh, Rook to d4, targeting this pawn. That's why I don't even like isolating my pawns in the first place. You see, the pawns becomes target. It's one thing something you should add to your middle game concept ideas. Don't allow isolated pawns like this. No, it's not. In fact, it spoils your plan. It makes your game feel like Elena. Well, Gukesh has showed the reason in this game 7. In this position, he targets this pawn on c4. For now, there is no piece that can defend the pawn at the moment. So knight comes to g6. This way, Din Lireng chooses to show the beauty that the knight can do. He decides to show how beautiful this knight is on the chessboard. See, the knight is going to do a lot of wonders with clear calculation. The rook staying here stays here for a longer time while he moves the knight. This just move 34. Rook takes the pawn. Knight comes to e5. The first thing you know about a knight is that a knight can move L shape. Then the second thing you should know is that the knight can attack two pieces by just a single move. We call it a fork in chess. In this case, it's attacking the bishop and the rook at the same time with just one single move. Most times, if the two pieces cannot defend themselves and they are in squares where the knight can attack, one of them needs to just go down. One of them will be captured. But for this case, the bishop is defended by the king, which is the king is not a strong defender actually. He's not a strong defender, he's not a strong attacker. But for now, he's doing well defending the bishop. So we need to look at that rook. Where will the rook go to instead? Where will Gukesh put the rook? So with this enough deliberation, we can simply say the rook goes to d4. Well, the rook can also go to c5. You get it. But it can be harassed again with just knight. If rook goes to c5, knight coming over here can harass the rook again, and it might lead to repetition of moves. So let me quickly show that to you. With this move, I think this would happen. You get the point. Harassing it. So either he goes somewhere here, keeping eye on these 2 pawns, or he comes down again. You get the point. Which allows this kind of repetition. He doesn't want that to happen. So after knight to e5, he played rook to d4 right away, keeping the rook behind his pawn and still defending this at the moment. So there is no knight moving over to yeah. Knight cannot just move to d3 now. So what did Din Lireng do? Well, see another concept here. A tactical idea. Din Lireng played knight to c6. Can you say it? Knight to c6 attack this pawn. 1. Attacks the rook. 2. Then this pawn cannot take the knight. Brilliant. Cannot. The reason is this. The pawn is pinned to the rook. If pawn takes, rook take rook. Chai. Grandmaster Din Lireng really played this championship well. Now this rook targets this pawn. This endgame should be winning for black. But because Gukesh too is prepared, he should know what he's doing. Did not take the knight instead. Just slide the rook to safety with a purpose, with a counter purpose, uh going after this pawn. What is that one single move that defends the pawn and keep the knight safe? Can you find it? Knight is under attack by this pawn. The rook attack this pawn. You need to find this move. Knight to e7. So he saw that, played knight to e7, keeping the knight. Now we have played 3 moves, and the rook has not moved. one single bit like this. The rook has not been moved one single bit. Can you say it? So in this end game, he has displayed beauty, a lot of beauty. So let's continue keeping this pawn safe and preventing infiltration. So let's move pawn push. We have this bringing the king to the game. After this move, we have pawn to h6. With king to f1, we have king to e5. I believe in this position on move 40, look at the layering time. I think it was low. Before move 40, it was around 3 minutes 11 seconds. 3 minutes 11 seconds on the board. While the Gukesh is still up 30 minutes higher than him and some seconds at the top. So when he was on this position in the chess world, his supporters and his fans feared he's going to lose this game on time. There was panic in the air. There was a lot of pressure. Even to him, he was under pressure. But just take a look at this. Immediately he played move 40, he got an addition of time. Added time came in and boosted his time control to something higher. Now he's on 30. Truly, truly, this is move 40. So Gukesh is going to eventually have an increment too. In this position, let's point out why king to f1 is still fair. Why knight okay. I think king to e5, right? Let's talk about his setting move, knight to c8 rather. With knight to c8, the concept is to come and take this pawn. You see, we are looking at a move that he would have considered that may be favorable to him in this position. If knight to c8, king moves to e2, then knight comes over. You cannot spend all your time defending this pawn. No, no, now. And if you try to defend the um rook to b4, it met here with this rook to b7. So you'll be forced to come to somewhere here and make a counter. Then the king is there also. Or just a slight move, king. Or you just play this king defending the pawn and everything just become cool and beautiful. Well, knight can just pick up this, or the rook can pick it up and keep the tension. If rook to h4, king to g7, this variation is valid. Very nice to play actually. Then after king to e3, bringing the king to supporting the action, knight can just pick up that particular pawn on b5. Then this can be it. Something that we can consider in this game, seeing that he has added time. With rook to b4, going after the knight, knight goes to c7. If king to d4, you can simply see king to f6 here. After bishop to g2, the game is still looking like a draw. But perhaps we have this pawn that might be an headache in the future. So in the game, instead, he played something humanly. I'm going to put it humanly because the engineering is also a human. King to e5, going after the rook, having added time. Rook slides to h4, going after the pawn. This is now different from the former position where the king was already on f6 with an easy access going to g7 or staying on g6. Even rather, we can still consider g5. Yeah. So this is now different. So you need somebody to guard this pawn. The knight can do that. The rook can do that. So what he did instead was knight takes on d5. Well, giving up the pawn. Rook takes the pawn on h6. Knight to c3. In this position in this game, I must tell you categorically that evaluation bar favors white from here. This is where Gukesh with the white pieces has, in fact, have the advantage. Let me put it that way. This is where he have the advantage in this game, where everybody believes that okay, Gukesh is going to win from here. The point is this: there is A free loosed pawn now on H file. Don't you think it's possible to plan with that pawn so we can have a queen on this board? There is a bishop, there is a rook. Although the landing square is a dark square, the rook can just stay up here on this particular file and just stay on the yeah, on the rank rather, this 8 rank, and prepare to push the pawn down. Perhaps this is what Gukesh saw. This is far the best move in the position with the concept here, such that if knight takes, check, king will move somewhere eventually. King moves, then he picks the knight. Very logical, a counter move. So, Ding did not go for that approach. He chose to go with knight to e4, blocking the bishop, then putting eye on this square to avoid check. So, if bishop takes now, I think it's going to take with the pawn. If there's a check, the rook will just block. If it goes for this, just pick up this, and you see the game can continue from here. Normal, but the advantage still remains that white has 3 connected pawns with possibility of having passed pawn from this H pawn. This is not a threat yet because it's just a single pawn. The rook can handle this, but these 3 connected pawns hmm, can cause trouble. So in a game like this, we can simply say, uh, where did we stop? This rook to c6 move is very smart. Is where we stopped. So Gukesh Dinleren played this king to e1, bringing the king to the game, pawn push. Then now he started pushing the pawn with the intention to bring in a queen to this game. We were anticipating to see something like that. Bishop move. The bishop was under attack. So nice pawn push, pawn takes, king takes. We have bishop to c2 attacks the rook. Rook slides back, a counter with the idea to pick this particular pawn. Well, let's check out this line. Is it possible to have bishop takes, king takes, rook takes, rook takes? Engine says it's a drawn game. Yeah, that's possible. Well, instead of going for bishop taking after the rook goes to safety, Gukesh says, okay, let me spice things up by playing rook to c4. Do you know why? Rook to c4 pins the knight to the king while being under attack by this bishop. What to do? Forces this move, pawn to f5. Rook to b4, defending this undefended pawn. We have um king to f3. Why not push this pawn? Why? What are you waiting for to move this pawn? Hmm. I must say, something is cooking. Bishop to d1 check, king to g2. Now we have this rook move. Rook comes to e5 with the intention to play a discovery attack on the king and pick the rook. Or what am I seeing? Gee, this is this more than discovery, right? I think knight here is more tempting. King moves. Nothing's there. Then we pick up the pawn. Okay. F4 attacking the rook. Rook slides back. We have rook. Rook moves to e3. Rook to h7. Pawn push to h5 under the defense of the bishop. Knight to f6 going after the knight. We see rook targeting this pawn on f5. Here knight takes. Rook takes. Knight attacks the rook. Rook moves away. Then we have rook attacking the pawn, which led to bishop defending. Here, king follows, trying to take away this pawn. F5, king to f4, f6, knight e4. Bishop goes back to c2, targeting the knight. If this happens now, I think white is definitely winning. The variation says bishop should just capture the pawn, right? Then f7. Nothing is stopping it. If rook, then check. He has to move. The queen comes in. This is winning for white. So after bishop to c2, what happened here? Dean Liren saw this and play knight away to d6 with the intention of if pawn push, knight takes. Then if white plays something else, like what happened in the game. Let me see. This is what happened in the game. Rook to d8. So he decided to just defend with the king before taking this. Pawn. So after this move, knight, rook check, king takes. We have this variation continuing like this. Eventually, he takes the last hope, which would become a queen. Eventually, the game ended in a draw after 72 moves. This is game 7. Thank you for watching.